Hello everyone, welcome back again to Spiritual Growth Tarot and Astrology, and of course this is the weekly reading for the astrological transits. This week we're going from October 15th through the 21st. Mars is moving into Scorpio and we have a huge stellium of planets squaring Pluto coming off of that eclipse that we just had. And then we also have, at the other end of it, Eris, and Eris, which is, she's like the kick-butt planet of Mars, but I think way stronger than Pluto, because she doesn't give up. So anyway, she's connected to the North Node, so that's the direction we're heading. So anyway, let me just swap out cameras here and show you the charts. It'll be easier, of course. Hold on. Okay, so this week it's important to understand that we are going to lose some, a couple of aspects that I've been happy with having. So just know that by the 23rd of October, so, into next week. This is our last week to take advantage of the opening that we've all had between, so both aspects are coming off of Pluto, but it's the Pluto sextiling Neptune and trining Uranus. So of course, remember that Pluto and, moving towards that anaretic degree hit of, 29 degrees Capricorn, that intensification of all Capricornian type of issues, that's happening December 19th. It'll be that direct hit. So we're in between that window, because now that Pluto's direct, we're in between that window of moving towards more adulting. It's like, no, I don't want to. But, controlling ourselves and approaching life from an adult, where we have some level of not only self-respect, but, we're coming from our inner authority. So if we can stay focused on what makes us feel good about ourselves, like, you can tell when things are bugging you. You can tell when you're not feeling so good about what's going on. And until we face it head on and just, back off with any judgments, there are no judgments. It's more of just tracking our little aspects of our lower selves that want to, make us small, make us bad, judge ourselves harshly. What else? Make us wrong. The need to be right, there's always the flip side, because we're in the dualistic paradigm and we're in the lower self territory. So no matter what it is, no matter what the issue is, and we all have so many, that we're working through in a lifetime, what can be the most important thing is to just remember to identify whatever it is, but don't identify who you are with it. Right? So identify it, but don't identify with it. That's the huge piece that, if you can do that, you're in alignment with spiritual law. When it comes to Pluto, and especially in Capricorn, if we are comparing ourselves against others, if we are in compulsion, if we are obsessing, if we are having problems letting go, and, surrender is all a Neptunian issue. And then with Uranus over here, this is that, that flow of energy that can really help us create freedom. So Taurus, self-worth issues, Pluto, controlling ourselves, but also knowing that we are so much more than our faults, so much more than our issues. And we're just identifying a little part, a little tiny piece of an aspect that's not even who we are, but we picked it up for survival at some point in some lifetime, and we've been holding on to it. So we can really let go of those issues now. If we move towards whatever is creating more spiritual opportunities, And of course, we're dealing with meditation. When it comes to Neptune, we're dealing with meditation. We're dealing with coming from the higher self perspective. Saturn and Capricorn can definitely be that conditioned response of the lower self. But, you know, we have higher self and lower self aspects in all the signs, so I can't really just pin it on one sign. But for sure, with the planetary configurations with, or the planetary aspects between Pluto and Neptune, we are letting go of people controlling us, people having power over us. We're dissolving, or we have the opportunity to dissolve tendencies to give our power away. Just think, like, harken yourself back to the insurrection, 2021, January 5th, January 6th, and all the months that led up before that, the planning of the insurrection. If you just think of that and you think of all the people that followed a cult leader, and got on board with that message, and they believed him, right? Because he was their president, and they believed him. And now, 2 years later, over 2 years later, well over 2 years later, approaching 3 years later, and coming full circle, all those souls that had to go, through the court system, and they're imprisoned, and now hopefully they're dissolving, that gullibility within. So, so there's that. And this is all speaking to Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces. Now, Neptune won't go into Aries until 2026. So we may see a lot of spiritual warriors stepping onto the scene at that point. But for now, we're dissolving the old. We are allowing ourselves to just let go of what was confusing and distorted, and letting go of those who deceived, right? So I'm not going to say us, because it wasn't us, but just in case somebody listens to this who was, within that insurrection, involved in that. I just, my heart goes out to anybody that's healing from that as they are, coming into clarity, because I can only imagine what a challenging process that is. Some other things that I see with the Pluto, this week, you notice we have 4 squares coming up to Pluto. So it's not just approaching Mercury and the Sun. The South Node's been square, but the Moon is at that anaretic degree of Libra, so we're really trying to get inside of justice to, balance out the scales. It's intense. Of course, this has everything to do with the war with Israel and Hamas. It's just... and this is proof that the Aries Libra axis can definitely relate to war. Mars rules Aries, and of course Venus rules Libra. So a lot of times it can be wars over, survival and even creative endeavors, like who do you think you are to think that you're, so and so, such and such, but my goodness, to kill another person because you don't agree with them, and to abuse and oppress for so many years. These are all hallmarks of Pluto, and especially in Capricorn. So anyway, and other things that kind of I guess if I can name a pet peeve that I have when it comes to gullibility, I see this a lot on YouTube, where there will be an astrology video that's up, and this person may have thousands and hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and the video will speak to such and such happening through the signs. Well, nobody unless they're naming exactly, the degrees of the houses and the degrees of the aspects to the sign, and unless they're saying, look at your own chart, otherwise this won't be accurate, then they're just hooking into people who are wanting to listen to, what they want to hear, basically. And it irks me to no end, because it's lies. And you can imagine, if they're saying all cancers, but they're talking about aspects to all cancers or Aries, or it doesn't matter what sign, all, in any certain sign, you're going to have this, and this, but they're talking about an aspect or a configuration of aspects with only specific degrees. The degrees matter. I can't. Okay, so just be leery of that, and be leery of anybody else, giving you astrological advice unless they've done your chart before, and unless they know your chart well. And you would have to know your chart well in order to even see if that would be true or not, right? So when I'm giving out degrees and signs and all of that, I'm expecting you to reflect it back to your own personal chart. But we can get the beautiful thing about astrology is that we can get the backdrop of what's happening everywhere. So it doesn't matter what country you're in or what time. The time will change depending on where you're at, or the effects will be there for you, sometimes before or way after, depending on where you live. So there's that. I have the charts always set to 0 degrees Aries so that you can see the natural zodiac. And this one starts on Sunday, 4 a.m. And I set it that way because I wanted to get that last bit of the moon in Libra. So let's talk about Libra for a little bit. Libra is really good at relationships and connecting, crossing that bridge to the other. And since the moon has, we had the new moon solar eclipse, which I know is redundant, but it was right there, conjunct the south node. So it was basically, the sun's still at 21 the next day. But yesterday we had the eclipse and it was all right back here at that 21 degrees. Well, I wanted to catch it at that nth degree of Libra, because now we are going to be moving forward in the possibility of sharing opportunities with each other, reflecting on ourselves based on the fact that, Libra can be the mirror. And the mirrors at the other end, of course, contain not only Chiron, Eris, and the North Node, the direction we're all headed in, which is to be in that realm of moving forward from your inner being and putting yourself out there. But then with Libra, we have the relationship mirror, and sometimes you just have to put yourself out there no matter what is in the mirror on the other side. And often, especially if it's a deeply creative, powerful aspect of you coming through, you do not ever ask someone else, well, what do you think if I did this? It's no one else's business. It's only up to you, right? I mean, my goodness, why in the world would you ask someone else for permission to do something that is coming from your heart? So these are things that are on the table after this eclipse, and even before. I mean, notice the war with Israel and Hamas happened, the week before. Well, yeah. So the eclipses don't have to. You don't have to wait for that day. They're openings, and what happens can sometimes be a week before or a week after. It's generally within that 2-week time frame that there's an issue or a topic that's up for you. And and then it can set you on a whole new path. It can set you off into a new direction that maybe you didn't have the courage, or you just weren't feeling bold enough to try. Right? So whatever it is, and it all depends on where, again, back to the, and that video's has been up for a couple of weeks, the eclipse at 21 degrees. Where does 21 degrees, what house does it occupy in your birth chart? And that will be the prime area of your life that will be affected, and then also the polarity. So yeah. Okay, so what else with this, with the square to Pluto? We're still in that realm of, with Pluto and Capricorn, it's like it's greed and corruption with the darkness, but working in the light, it's to be and live and move and work hard from our personal integrity and authority. We don't go around kissing the ring. We don't go around using people in order to get to a better position. We take self-responsibility for creating our own lives as best we can, and those who are with us we love dearly, but we're not going to go out and try to get other people on board by paying them or I don't know. I mean, it's just there's so much that could be said about Capricorn integrity. And the flip side, which has to do with, of course, abusing other people and their resources. So let's just go from the positive side of Capricorn, because this is something we're all going to be sitting in. It takes 243 to 248 years to get around the zodiac. So this is a once in a lifetime transit for us, right? And a not every lifetime transit, most likely. And we've been dealing with that anaretic degree back and forth between since February, last February, and we will deal with it through November of 2024. I think it's November 19th, 2024, when Pluto finally moves into Aquarius to stay. But meanwhile, it's going to go back and forth, back and forth. So it's good to work these issues. So to work these issues with Capricorn, just be willing. Be willing to focus on your goals. Be willing to organize yourself. Be willing to construct a plan, to be really constructive, to be very productive every day, but not so driven that you hurt your body. Right, that's the Cancer polarity. It's always about, I should be pointing here to here. Capricorn has drive, but Cancer is good at nurturing. And it's like, okay, I have to stop and eat, right? I need to have my water near me. You know what I mean? You have to be taken care of before you can do a good job, right? It's kind of like, don't leave the house hungry unless you're going straight to a restaurant. Things like that. Okay, so back to Cancer, there's that, Capricorn, there's that ability to create new opportunities as long as you can structure your schedule, your reality, your daily reality enough that it's in alignment with your goals. And then the downside of it is that you can, Capricorns, and when I speak to it from this side, you'll probably understand a lot of the political prisoners, I suppose we should, no, that's not a right way to say it. People who are imprisoned within the restraints or the negative side of Capricorn, and if they're a political leader, if they're a judge, if they are a corporate head, whatever, if they're attached to creating form, to materialism, if they're abusing the resources of the earth or other people's resources, like all this price gouging and the inflation, that it doesn't need to be that way. You know what I mean? That nobody needs to be raising prices when there's inflation. It's just like during the recession, all of us who are in integrity, we lowered our prices to help people, stay stay on their, within their plans. And yeah, so the dark side of Capricorn is just that autocratic, dictatorial consciousness where they're just trying to control and manipulate opportunities, right? Just think back to what happened during the the pandemic. I mean, we're still in it, and there's still, it's atrocious to what some of these people have done. So those things should shift, after the end of this year, hopefully, or I'm sorry, the end of next year. So we're still in this, even though the squares will drop off at, what is it, December 7th? Yeah, to the nodes. Yeah, but that's only because the nodes are going to move, out of orb. So Pluto's sitting there. Eris is sitting there. I've spoke about that, so I'll just let it go for this time. But yeah, so that's the backdrop, as well as the backdrop for this week. So that was the long-term backdrop. But, and Jupiter and Taurus is nothing to sneeze at, and we've got that semi-square to Neptune. So there's that real need to feel peace inside. And the only way to do that is to be on your spiritual path. And to be on your spiritual path just means that you are accessing your fears of positive feelings. You're accessing your false beliefs, most of all. And you're letting go of rejecting your love, your heart, your healthy self-assertion. You're letting go of the need to be approved or admired. You're you know your own self-value enough that you don't need somebody else to reflect back to you how good you are, because you already know that you're fine. You're absolutely fine. So if we can do that, it helps us to let go of, and now I'll speak to some Aries energy, Aries to the Libra axis, and then I'll just let this whole thing go. It's Jupiter's healing, Uranus's freedom. Aries Libra axis is all about letting go of, putting your energy towards something or someone that that is, because just think of spiritual law. If you think in terms of a forcing current coming out of you towards someone, and they're not wanting that energy, then they're going to push back, because that's that equal reaction that has to happen. And the forcing currents, anytime we have a forcing current, so remember, the forcing currents are really simple. They are aggression, and that includes passive aggression. They're aggression, submission, and withdrawal. So a lot of times the aggressive types and the submissive types work well in relationship because they've got something to work out. And I'm imagining that all of you can imagine, or you can reflect back in time to relationships like that. Either you were the one submitting, or you were the one controlling, and then things fell apart because eventually someone grows up, right? Sometimes the person that's aggressing wants the person who's submissive to just come out and be real, right? And that's a beautiful thing. But then other times it's, you get into victim persecutor type of vicious circles, and that means you have to get away from that aggressive person, right? Withdrawal, when we're in withdrawal, those people aren't even in relationship, so that's not usually a problem. But therein lies maybe the withdrawal is maybe coming from a harsh judgment of, you're not good enough for me, kind of a thing. Or, these things that it always comes back down to pride. It's either intellectual pride. There's even spiritual pride, like I know more than you. And intellectual pride would be the same way, but I'm more spiritual than you because I meditate it's like if you're breathing, you're spiritual. Right? yeah, all these other prides, like I look better than you, that kind of thing. What would that be called? I guess vanity, right? Um, yeah. So you guys can think of some other ones probably, but pride is it's one of those things we're here to work out. So, so if we have a forcing current on even pleasure, then we are pushing against it. It's not going to work out for us. Not in the right way, because positive pleasure is just open and comfortable with whatever's going on. But then again, we're all headed towards positive pleasure anyway, because that's who we truly are. So people who are engaging in war, people who are engaging in controlling others and dictatorial and autocratic, they do not experience peace inside. And because everything is an inside job. So, here we are. You got to love astrology, right? I mean, everything's set up for them to work things through. And especially this week with Saturn in this trine to the Sun South Node. Well, Saturn trining the South Node has been going on. And the retrogradation lasts until November 4th. So this is definitely, this is our time to work spiritually and master our addictions and anything that helps us to access our deeper emotional issues is good and helps us to master our creativity. A lot of the times addictions are just covering up a real need, because we're all, co-creators. They're usually just like frustrations of not being able to create what we really want to create. So in our spare time, we always have to work as much as we can on our creativity until that's the main thing that you do. And you can still find pleasure in the work that you do, even if it's not geared towards something you create, because you're also, if someone else has created it, you're nurturing their creation. And that's not a bad thing as long as it's done with integrity and, no one's getting hurt and no one's being used. As long as the deals are fair, right? The fair exchange of energy is always key. And that is definitely an Aries Libra phenomenon, or not phenomenon, but energy and consciousness, I should say. So so with the trines, the triple trine going to Saturn, there's a lot of Libra energy. So the only way we can mess that up, because Libra is so good at relating to each other and engaging in something that can help, where we're sharing opportunities and we are also growing. But then if the only way to mess this up over the next few days would be if we are non-committal, if we're polarizing, right? Like just wanting to be right and all the things that are polarizing, where there's a confrontation that doesn't need to be there, right? Or if you're involved, or if you're manipulating, if anybody's manipulating you and you're hooked in and you're engaged with that, or you're trying to manipulate someone else to get what you want, but it might not even be good for them, and you've got this forcing current with them, you got to do this, that kind of thing. These are all Libra, the negative side of Libra tendencies. And then of course, dependency, codependency is a Libra issue, as well as Cancer and Capricorn. So, and if you don't have any planets in Libra or Cancer or Capricorn, you still have houses that Venus is in, and you still have your moon somewhere, which rules Cancer. You still have Saturn somewhere, which rules Capricorn. So you would look to those houses and those aspects between those planets in order to, and then Aries would be Mars. So So it always comes back to our natal chart, and we can work through anything. You're not stuck with your chart. Your chart is where you came. It's what you came in with. Doesn't mean that's what you leave with. You can always turn it around into the positive aspects of all the planets and signs. So, okay, so let's see what else for today. You can see Mars is still involved with this square to Pluto. So, and of course, this had to do with the war starting. Well, but you know, it's like it's been the how many thousands of years war in Israel, and yeah, with Israel and Palestine. It's just so sad. But Mars in Scorpio, the downside of it is that it's, especially with its early degrees, it can be that something is forming. On the good side of it, what could be forming is something coming into refining a better way of living so that it's done with harmony. And it might be a little conflictive at first because you're figuring out what really works and what doesn't. So it's a place of like redefining opportunities. As long as you're working on the greater good of the whole and you're working on transforming yourself within the situation, Scorpio energy is beautiful. Where it gets to be problematic, and especially with the square to Pluto, this is where we can get stuck where we are being consumed with all the energy that is going on around us that is connected to crisis. Like, you know, watching the war, getting all the news and seeing those images on TV is not good. Especially if you're watching it while you're eating. I always put on something happy while I'm eating, or I don't have anything on while I'm eating, right? Because you really want to enjoy your food. So, you know, you think of those things because Scorpio has to do with bringing things into your system and refining them into useful form, and you know what creates energy, how you consume what you bring into, what you absorb into your body. Those are all Taurus Scorpio phenomena or aspects. So yeah, so we want to be careful with that. And what else? Let's see, I think that's probably, well, let's talk about the in conjunct. I mean, we do have the need to, we have with this little semi-square here, we do have the need to work through our deeper wounding, know how much you matter, but you don't need to be in the fear of abandonment anymore. We're integrating our life lessons with Chiron in that second decan of Aries. And from there, there's action that can really change your old ways of perceiving with Saturn in Pisces. You know, because Pisces is so beautiful for healing and flowing and just letting things go and getting into the best of who you can be. The only way where we have problems is with addictions and with just being so floundering around, kind of, you know, that we don't find opportunities, that we just let them go, and you know, it can be somewhat self-destructive that way. So we have to be careful. And then not having good, because remember, always, you know, you always want to look at the polarities. And with Venus over here opposing Saturn, Venus and Virgo will help us be discriminatory. It'll help us to discern what's going on. And with the opposition to Saturn, because in Pisces, the difference between Virgo and Pisces is Pisces in its negative sense will sometimes or often not be discriminatory. There's no discrimination, or it's getting sucked into somebody else's idea of the way things are. But with Venus here, now, Venus will help us make those comparisons and figure out what really works and what doesn't. But it's in the early degrees, so there's still something forming there. But Venus is going to help within this process for Saturn in Pisces. So if you're figuring out if you're tracking your own patterns within as to where you're not grabbing a hold of opportunities, where you're wasting time, where time's just going by and you're not getting anything done, or you're letting people suck up all your energy, and things like that, then you'll walk away from this going, oh man, I could have used that time. So, and if you're not feeling good about yourself, you'll know. You can feel that. So then just look to where, what could you create? What could bring more joy into your life? And it doesn't have to be, if you're retired and you don't need the money, it doesn't have to have anything to do with earning a living or making money. It's all about what brings happiness and joy into your life. So yeah, there's always something to learn, right? We can always be learning. Okay, so I think I've covered the opposition with Venus there. The inconjunct, I started to talk about that, from Uranus up here to the Sun is important because there's an adjustment. See how the Sun's at 21, Uranus is at 22. So the Sun is showing us something. There's a spotlight on what could bring peace, what could help a person, get on or cross the bridge to the other, if there's, an open-hearted way of finding freedom for them and you, because Aquarius is all about freedom, most of all. Or, I'm sorry, Uranus is all about freedom, rules Aquarius, of course, but it's also about innovation. It's also about something that's inspiring that you can go towards. It also rules the internet and astrology. The challenge with it, it's good because it can help us wake up to something new, and especially, invent something. And the something could be that we're reinventing ourselves. And it might be that there is, through the avenue of relationship, someone does throw a good idea at you. That can definitely happen. And then it's up to you to take it and run with it or not. So, and then on the negative sign, of course, Uranus is all about shocks. And, right now we do have the spotlight on the war and the crazies in the GOP House, so hopefully they'll wake up. But meanwhile, Uranus with the negative side is all about radicals and rebels and chaos agents. So, yeah. And then I think I spoke to, maybe I didn't, but this one's been going on, the Neptune to the South Node. That inconjunct there, that's the one that is gone, I think, December 6th. Yeah. So we still have some time with that one, but the connection from Neptune to the South Node is that ability to reflect on the past, and especially in relationships and your social connections, and then spiritual, kindred spirits, or not. Maybe there's an adjustment because you stopped drinking and you're no longer connected to that old drinking buddy because they don't want to stop. Or maybe you're working really hard to balance out something in your body, and we're talking, different blood levels, and so you're changing up your diet, and that can very well happen with this Venus opposing Saturn. Maybe you're giving up sugar, or maybe you've already given up sugar and you're finally starting to see the but in the early degree, I'm thinking it's more of definitely, there are so many people that have given up sugar or get just minimal amounts of sugar, and we can look to them for advice because it's already out there, it's already cemented in. And so yeah, so that might be something to look at. Because, Virgo's all about, always rules our health and our diet, health, diet, hygiene, work, service, those things. And Venus wants to unify. Venus wants to make things better. Venus wants to create balance. And of course, Venus rules Libra. Libra is all about balance. So there's a lot of that on the table this week. Let's see, anything else before I move on? There's two little semi-squares here from Venus to the Sun and Mercury, and you'll see that, we will have Mercury conjunct the Sun soon. It's already conjunct, but I mean, it'll be tight. So Mercury is going to be giving us more messages. It's on the news, brings out more. When the Sun conjunct Mercury comes, or when Mercury conjuncts the Sun, it happens a lot. There's an intensification of the ability to communicate, and then you look to the sign to go, okay, communicate about what? Well, peace with Libra, peace, relationships, the bridges to connection, to things that work out for both parties or all parties. Those are all Libra qualities. So there'll be a lot of talking about that. And the adjustment, or the action, I should say. Adjustment is the quincunx aspect. The semi-squares bring in the need for action. So Venus in Virgo brings in some new details that can show people where they're headed. And the Sun and Mercury, or the Sun shining a spotlight on that, Mercury, we're all talking about it, and we can take those actions to bring in more peace and harmony in our lives. The more you have peace in your life, the more you have, that is going out. Every breath you take is just going out into the universe, and that's affecting others. Because it's, there's an emanation, there's a vibration going out from you. So yeah. Now with the moon in the last degrees, or the whole time the moon in Libra, and I'm doing this video on Thursday, so this will be, you have plenty of time to see what's going on. With Libra energy, when the moon's in Libra, Libra affects, or it rules, our kidneys and our lower back. So you want to be careful. Make sure you get enough water, get tons of water, and protect your lower back. Be very careful with your lower back if you're lifting anything heavy, and be careful to not lift too much, in one day. And the other thing, and I think everybody knows this, but I'm like the mom here trying to protect everyone. If you do have to lift something heavy, make sure your bladder is empty. Okay, so let's go to Monday. And Monday, we're still at 4 a.m., so Monday, October 16th, we have the moon has crossed over that south node, picked up some steam off of Mars, and Mars and the moon in Scorpio. That's a lot. I'm glad it happened in the middle of the night, and I hope that you guys all had some really good dreams. If you had some wild dreams, I wouldn't be surprised at all, and that's okay too. But this morning early, I left it at 4 because it's when we have the exact opposition to Jupiter. So Mars in Scorpio, Mars is the planet that helps us to get motivated in a certain direction. Mars is not a bad planet at all. It just moves energy. It can represent like what motivates us as like to get on board with or take some actions in our lives. And so it's some of the attributes of Mars is, willpower and action and strength. And when just imagine in the tarot, like all the wands, that's kind of Mars energy. But yeah, but it can also be angry energy, and especially in the first decan of Scorpio there, we do want to be careful with what we get on board with. If it's not right for you, if there's any angry energy with it, like if it's a group of, you just have to be careful what you get on board with. It's movement oriented, right? But it's in a fixed sign. So, and with the moon there too, my goodness, and then opposing Jupiter, there could be something that blows up. There could be some tension that has to be faced. Yeah. And with the second decan of Scorpio to Taurus, there could be a life lesson that's coming through that, like if we need to learn it, we need to learn it, and that's okay. But we just want to be careful about arguments, be careful about something that just drains your energy, just something that's too it'll take you down a rabbit hole, and then what happens is that your day is gone or your week is gone, and you're like, what the heck was that about? So, with Scorpio, you always just want to be careful about balancing things out. So with the polar opposite of Taurus, what can be helpful when the moon's in Scorpio is to think of magnetizing opportunities that bring in more happiness and bliss. And, come from what brings happiness into your body, into your life, but then be careful about that need to, have everything and buy everything. But with the moon in Scorpio, we're connecting the dots on a deeper level. So it could be that it's a really good aspect as far as staying balanced, because with the moon, it can help us, like I said, connect to something that, the polarity there could be good for, if I combine the two, it could be very good for figuring out things that, so with diet, it's with Venus and Virgo here, and the trine over to, the approaching trine over to Jupiter. I'm looking at all of this, and I'll just say one big blanket statement. When it comes to the body, this could be really good for figuring out the foods that you digest easily. But it can also, you can figure those things out too by with your intuition and remembering back, oh yeah, I ate that. Oh, it's that. Those little things. Or maybe you're trying out some new supplements and then you realize, oh, it shouldn't, this one I'm not digesting well. And you might figure out whether or not you can return it or not, but often you can't. So, yeah, and then the adjustment that we had coming from Uranus up to the Sun now also involves Mercury. So again, more information coming in to keep ourselves balanced. That's a theme for the week. And it's all about health, diet, the way we work, what we do, our work habits, and who we connect with at work, especially with the Libra and the Virgo energy going on. And then with the moon in Scorpio, I think it's really just going to help us get more deeply in touch with what works and what doesn't, what's energy draining and what isn't, what contributes to abundance and what doesn't, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Anything else with the moon? There's a sesquisquare to Venus, or I'm sorry, to Neptune. Yeah. It might be a little bit stubborn in the morning, but the moon will keep moving and that aspect will drop off. So maybe the stubborn is like, I just want to stay in bed and sleep in. And if you can, I think it would be good. Okay, so Tuesday, the moon's still in Scorpio, but it has moved forward enough. I left it at 3 a.m. so we could get this aspect of the architect going on here. So I think it's good for dream time, but waking up early and getting a hold of some opportunity that can really help you move forward and free up some energy. You might wake up with some dreamtime guidance that has you. It happened to me last week, actually. Can't remember what it was about, but I knew I needed to do something. And so I just got up and did it real quick and then went back to bed. Because I knew it would help, for the future. I wish I could remember what it was. But things like that can happen, as well as anything that builds. There could be some intuitive response that helps transform a problem that you had in the past, because Scorpio energy is so good for problem solving. And if you've had any issues that you've been working with, or you're fine-tuning, some project, this would be the day for a breakthrough, big breakthrough with the Uranus, trining Pluto, and then with the connection over to the moon. So that looks good. And then you can see the triple trine over to Saturn, with the Sun and Mercury connecting there, and then up to the South Node. So everything's moving towards understanding on a deeper level, because we're coming from the wisdom of the past, as to how to relate, how to create a bridge of peace, how to hold peacefulness inside of you, and maybe being very careful with our words, with Mercury and Libra. Maybe we're all being a little more careful, or need to be more careful. That's... It always goes back to and I'm so guilty of this because I don't do it, but what is it? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And there's another one and I can't remember. But then again too, sometimes it's not necessary or kind at all, but it's funny, and we can get caught up in that. I am so guilty of that. The snark, right? So you can see that the moon is also in. There are two inconjuncts coming down to the North Node and Eris, and the North Node and Eris are almost exactly connected. There's only 10 minutes of separation here. So as soon as the North Node goes back, 10 more minutes, it will be exact with Eris. And that is a whole lot of energy and courage. Eris is she's a dwarf planet like Pluto, but she's that feminine aspect, or we could say Mars' sister and Pluto's sister. And we have the square to Pluto all the way through to December 25th, so Christmas Day in the USA. Or whoever celebrates where, December 25th. And it's just, Eris she's like the kick butt feminine, divine feminine that just doesn't give up. But she's been in Aries my entire life, because she does take 558 years to orbit the sun. So she's opposing the South Node all the way through January of next year. And then Chiron, at that time, Chiron's going to connect with, Chiron here will be connected to the North Node. So this whole stellium here in Aries is just going to cook, more and more and more heat over here. The planets will come and go, crossing over the South Node, but our energy focus will be here. So let's get inside of the positive aspects of Aries, which has to do with coming from your inner being. It's like, think of the sperm that's like, yeah, I'm going in. I know I'm going to lose my tail, but I'm going in, right? And bam, there's something in the egg. That's Aries energy. There's no looking back to what you're going to lose. There's that instinctual movement forward at the right time. There's good timing usually with Aries, if they're coming from their inner being. And so there's that healthy self-assertion. Now, where we can get into trouble with Aries is if we're trying to dominate someone else, if we're trying to divide and conquer, which, I guess happens with the sperm and the egg. But, the egg, see, that's a cool thing. I don't know if everyone knows this, but the egg, it's spinning. And it only lets in the sperm that it wants to let in, right? So there's that. There's that symbiotic relationship going on between Aries and Libra. So yeah, but anyway, the negative side of Aries is, just trying to make someone do what you want, and you're not thinking about them, you're only thinking about yourself. And it's invasive, and it kind of denies the other person their autonomy, and, it's not good. It's energy that's coming from a negative place. So we're going to be witnessing things like that. It's going to happen with the GOP party, even worse. And of course, we're seeing it happen with wars. It's not just Israel and Hamas, it's Russia in a genocide on Ukraine. So, yeah. But for us, Tuesday morning, we have the moon squaring Saturn. So we're waking up early in the morning and bumping up against realities. It might very well be a wake up, hit the ground running, but I invite you to be very cognizant on Monday night about catching those dreams, because often it can just be a little snippet of a dream that you wake up with, and if you can just write it down quickly before you get going. If you don't have time to meditate, if you do have time to meditate, something beautiful can come out of it with this contact between the moon moving and approaching square even to Saturn, moon to Saturn, and Saturn being in Pisces. And then with the 3 trines from Saturn and Pisces to the Libra Sun, Mercury, and South Node, fantastic. Let's see, what else? I didn't talk much about Venus trine Jupiter when it came in. I think it was yesterday. So it was 6 degrees. Now it's at 7. So this is an approaching trine. So the trine from Venus to Jupiter brings in beautiful opportunities. This is an Earth trine going on here. So opportunities to create something that will be very, very useful in the future. Venus in Virgo, to me, this is the epitome of divine order, if you can work towards that. I love Virgo energy for creating divine order, and Venus is there giving lots of support to that process. It will help us understand what we value the most, and especially in our relationships. And so there might be some building of relationship here. This is a very good aspect to have this week, all week long, in terms of people trying to work out their differences, politically or any relationship, wise, I suppose. And then the moon is in a double inconjunct with, and I think I've given so much attention already to Aries up here or down here that I'll just focus on the moon and Scorpio in that last decan, where there's some mastery coming in here. There's some life lessons, and we're making adjustments because it's like, oh, now I get it. Whatever it is that you've been working on and whatever you're trying to build in your life, there's some getting it today, like figuring out what it really means and how to do it. And you can see, especially with the moon opposing Uranus, again, Uranus brings in those aha moments, the lightning bolts of awareness, and the moon can really take it in. The moon in Scorpio can really take it in and use it. So that's awesome. Okay, Wednesday, The moon's in Sag. I clocked it at 4 a.m. to get the double sesquisquares and the square over here and then the connection to Venus, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to be easy this morning. Again, jumping out of bed, getting going kind of thing because fire sign Sag, right? It's movement oriented. And we're wanting to get something done. Now, Sag is very intuitive, so there is a possibility of dreamtime guidance. It doesn't matter what time or day or nap or sign or degree, it's always dream time because we're always connected to the other side as long as we're open to it. You can get guidance, little details of guidance, little snippets of guidance when you're working on something. If you ask for help, we always have to ask for help is the thing. So with the square, and this is an exact square to Venus and Virgo, the challenge here is that emotionally we're going to want to just go. And Venus and Virgo's over here saying, but wait, I have to give you this, or I have to tell you this, or you need this before you go. Meanwhile, you're gone. She gone, right? He gone, whatever it is. So we have to be careful about that. And with all the opposing energy, there can be breakthroughs if we get the details and we know, where, if we have what we need, as we're headed in the direction, if we have what we need, if we have all the tools, if we're ready, then we're good, right? That'll be fine. But if we're not, then we're going to have to go back and then try it again. Or go back and get whatever it was you left at home, or whatever you're trying to do. It's like, oh, it's in the other room. I have to go back and get that. I thought I was ready. No, I can't. Hold on. I'll be right back. That kind of thing. But it can work out very well because squares there's a tension field, but they bring in strengths. That's why I don't tend to look at mistakes as being really mistakes. They're just learning opportunities. And then with the sesquisquare to the south node, north node and Eris, and back over to Venus, the double sesquisquares there could be some stubborn energy to go your way, your way or the highway, and be a little too forceful. And especially with the fire coming off of the Sag sun, or a Sag moon, again, it comes back to Venus and Virgo going, okay, hold on, let's stop. Take a deep breath. Maybe the internet went out. Maybe electricity went off for a while, for a minute or something, and then you're worried it's going to happen again. Just take a deep breath and let go. Don't worry about it happening. Just go with what you have. And if you have to reschedule things, you have to reschedule things. It's not a big deal. And with the 3 inconjuncts coming to Neptune, triggering, the South Node Sun and Mercury connecting together tightly, and then with the energy going over to Neptune, it's always helpful to make that adjustment. It's like I said before, ask for help, ask for spiritual support, assign a team of your spirit team or angels, guides, whatever. There are so many that have so many specific specialties. Ask for a team to help you with your new project or with an old project, and maybe you just forgot to ask for help. So let's see. Everything else looks the same. Do I have... Oh, no, it's just 2 inconjuncts. It's not... I thought I saw a finger of fate in there, but no. Let's go to Thursday. So Thursday, we have a lot going on. So we can see that the sun... So at 8 a.m., Thursday, October 19th, the sun is exactly conjunct Mercury, or Mercury's right there with the sun. It's not exact within a minute. I just figured if to go any later than 8 a.m. is probably... It left out the other aspects, which are important because we have 3 sextiles up to the moon in Sag. And we can see that the Sun and Mercury are on the other side of the North Node. So we've picked up tons of wisdom, made many connections by this day, and now we can move forward. And the forward movement, of course, is headed towards Mars and Scorpio, and there's going to be tons of energy next week, but transformative and deeply powerful. So, but for today, for Thursday, with the triple trine up to the moon and the triple sextile and triple trine over to the North Node, we have connections from past life wisdom and from the past period. And the intuitive moon that is mastering something, with Sag at that 23, we're in that last decan of the sign. So the moon in Sag is bringing in something inspirational. It's helping us directionally on our path. It might have us searching for things, but that's okay because we're exploring. Exploration is a Sag thing. Of course, intuition, divination, those are all Sag, ninth house qualities. We're looking for good opportunities and opportunities to open and expand because Sag, of course, is ruled by Jupiter. And then with the trine to the North Node, this helps us on our path in life and to have more courage and to go for it. So it looks like a really good day. We do have an inconjunct coming down to Uranus, so there might be an adjustment because as you get going and you're on your path, then there's something else, as an aha moment. Okay, I have to integrate that. Let's do that and make a little adjustment, and it'll be even better than we thought it was. So Thursday looks like a really, really good day. And you can see the 4 trines coming off of Mars is involved. Well, Mars has been there with Saturn, but it's been in that tension field of needing to open up to the greater good of the whole with Saturn in Pisces, and Mars in the early degrees of Scorpio kind of just wants to bring it in a way that enhances life, but they might not yet know how. Well, the rest of the energy here with the Sun and Mercury in the South Node is supporting understanding the better way to do things and how to refine things and noticing the subtleties that make life better. So, but there can be conflicting. Scorpio can be about battle and conflict. Maybe for us, we're healing old resentments, old relationship resentments. Maybe we're letting go of just anything that doesn't lead you into a more peaceful place. I mean, that's always good, no matter what sign and what's going on. Yeah. So, okay, let's see. Anything else with... Yeah, that's it. Okay, so Friday, October 20th, 4 a.m., the moon's in Capricorn. It's moving, of course, towards Pluto. Oh, you know what I forgot to say? Well, the moon's in Scorpio. Scorpio rules the elimination system in, genitals. And then when the moon's in Sag, that rules the hips and the thighs. Now that the moon's in Capricorn, that rules our bones and knees. So, be careful about pushing. If you're going to go for a hike or something like that, or you're doing a lot of up and down squat, that happens to me all the time. It doesn't bother my knees, but I notice my back sometimes, like squatting down, getting things out of file cabinets, or squatting down all the way down and lifting something heavy. It's like, yeah, you're going to pay for that later. So with the moon trining Jupiter, and this is an approaching trine, so every degree the moon moves forward over the next few hours is going to be a tighter trine with Jupiter. So the moon to Jupiter can really help with Capricorn to Jupiter, Jupiter and Taurus especially, those two earth signs, can really, really help building something of lasting value. And because we also have the trine over here to Venus at 10 degrees, you can see we have a beautiful earth trine here involving the moon. So, and as the moon moves closer to tomorrow, you'll see that we have the moon pretty darn close to Pluto. This can be so powerful. But now, so for these this day, today and tomorrow, with the trine going on here between the moon, Jupiter, and Venus in Virgo, this Earth trine, we're bringing into the, I don't know, maybe we're working on a new project. There's something that's developing that is of the earthly realm that will bring more joy and happiness and bliss into your life if you can take advantage of it. So if you're watching this on Sunday and you make it all the way through without, using the timestamps, that's a good idea, because you can plan for this whole week, because this is a beautiful event on Friday morning. Let's see, what else? You can see the moon is still in this sextile over to Mars. It's an exact sextile, so there's opportunity there coming in. We still have the aspect of the architect going on with Jupiter. This is really powerful. This is really, really powerful. Friday could be a really great day. And if it's only for just having fun and you're decorating for Halloween, well, I shouldn't say just only, because that's perfect. Especially with Mars and Scorpio this Halloween, we might see some really, really spooky outfits. Let's see. Moon, what am I saying? Sun and Mercury are exactly conjunct at 26 degrees. So again, more information about relationships and building bridges. Maybe there's some breakthrough that happens with the war in Israel. And it might be that there's some breakthrough with the GOP House negotiations. We've got, that's very, very possible. Maybe we know who's going to be the House Speaker by this Friday. Or way before, and now it's in form, and then they're going to be developing the actions, but they better be careful, because they haven't been doing so good so far. Let's see. Venus, we were dealing with that already. I would say, it's a really good day to move forward and work hard to bring in what you want to, create. It's excellent for manifesting. So let's look at Saturday, the 21st, right here. And you can see the moon is now clocking closer and closer to Capricorn. So every hour that goes by, there's more intense focus on what matters to you most. Capricorn, like I was saying, it's all about our goals and connecting the dots and bringing plans together, making plans and bringing them together, because we're moving towards that last decan of Capricorn, 18 degrees Capricorn. So from 20 to 29 degrees, we're mastering something. And of course, it brings in more intense focus to this, square to the nodes. And we have the Sun and Mercury still close enough together that there's help there. But Mercury's now, by this time, moving closer towards Mars. And, that's when that happens, we're going to have to be careful with, them are fighting words, We're going to have to be careful about things. Very careful with what we say. And think. But then again, if you use Mercury and Mars together in Scorpio, you can really, really work out problems. It's problem-solving energy there. So yeah, let's see what else. Venus trine Virgo is still there. We've lost that one leg because of the moon, but the moon is carrying it through to Pluto to powerfully bring something into form that's very helpful for Saturday. And then the rest of it, I would say, it just looks to me like a really good day for making plans for next week, getting things nailed down for next week's schedules. Venus has moved into the second decan of Virgo, 11 degrees Virgo, and we've gone from the developing plans, and there's some integration, but now there's maybe a good deal of stubbornness that needs to be there too, because you're really trying to bring things all the way through to fruition with the moon there. Yeah. It looks like a good day. It's just, it's with it being Saturday, it looks to me like Friday was a heavy work day and Saturday might be more about, or not might be, definitely will be more about integrating. And if you have any energy left over, you're planning for next week. Or maybe you've already planned up the whole, I don't know if you're like me, it's like, it's pretty much planned up already. Every month, every week, every month. Yeah. Okay, so that's it. I think I'm going to get this uploaded and send you big, big hugs. Okay, bye.